Can you imagine for a second that this world is full of people who are lit up by their soul, who are living so fearlessly in their truth, their awareness, they feel expanded, they feel lit up, they feel aware of all that they are, their possibilities are endless, and they feel limitless and expanded and embodied in their love. There is a sense of belonging between all beings. Can you imagine that world where, we truly are listening and expressing and being from our intuition, and it is respected. Everyone respects everyone's intuition and in their innate trust within themselves, that there is no force, there is no control and domination over one another. There is a beautiful symbiotic symphony of all that are able to express themselves and be themselves, can just totally relax into that, and the creativity just pouring out into this world. Well, I feel that this is something that is so possible, and I feel like I want to just remind you today that you can feel that love, you can feel that expandedness, and start to trust yourself more and your intuition, because this for me is that soul fire passion that burns so bright within us for a reason. It is igniting and awakening within so many of us to lead that way. And yes, sometimes it looks a little bit weird. It looks a bit strange on the outside to other people, maybe how you express yourself. Maybe people don't always get you because of how you are. Maybe you are, like me, quite highly sensitive. So, your perception and understanding of where other people are at can be limiting even yourself, because you feel like you don't want to expand and be that bright light because of how maybe other people would treat you and how they would perceive you, because it's not always well received, as we were growing up. When we were children, most often we're getting told that signal that it's not always safe to be us, that it's not acceptable to be yourself, your voice isn't allowed, and your movement and the way you want to do things intuitively isn't allowed, when you're at school and you want to get up and go and do something and they say no, not even the toilet. There were so many times where I wasn't even allowed to go to the toilet when I wanted to go, and I was like nearly going to wet myself, going red in the face, until my teacher said, go to the toilet. I always remember that day. I thought, yeah, the bell's going to go, but I need to go now. And he wouldn't let me. And he had to see me in excruciating pain to realize that control of, it was so unnecessary. Like, you could have just totally trusted that child knew exactly what she needed to do in exactly that moment and allow her to do it. And what was she doing? She would have done that and come back and everything would have been fine. What is that about? What is that about? Children needing to voice themselves, express themselves. Even when they don't like certain foods, we squash them. We don't allow them to explore other foods, and we try and force them to eat things. Why do we do this? It's really switching off people's intuition, yeah? And there's definitely a balance there when you've got kids, but there is also a way that we can demonstrate this. So now, here we are as adults, and we are looking to find our intuition again, really weave the remembering of how we listen within and how we trust ourselves. Because the more that we do that, the voice actually becomes the dominating force. It becomes the louder force. Like, I feel that if I hadn't listened so many times, there are so many examples where I really listened in, because the fire was stronger. The fire just had to get stronger, because it was a matter of, serious consequences, right? Examples of this in my life is falling asleep with a candle on, right? And then waking up to my inner voice screaming, Georgia. I literally was hearing like a voice, a little voice, say saying, Georgia, 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 and woke me up to the fire. You know, do we all have that little voice in us? Yes. But, you know, we have to allow it to listen to us. For us to listen to it, I should say. You know, become more receptive to it. A really big example of this was when I was living in Costa Rica, and this person joined one of our sacred circles that we were hosting. And the moment I saw them, I kept feeling like I wanted to vomit. I couldn't even speak to them. They kept their glasses on, they wouldn't take their glasses off, and I was like, there is something that about this person, they shouldn't be in this space, and I don't want them in this space. My friend was like, look, you know, so-and-so's brought them in, like, just give them the benefit of the doubt. And I was like, I don't know why I'm having all these visceral feelings that are so strong. I'm starting to have visuals that were really unpleasant, and I was like, I don't know this person, but what I'm receiving is that they are, into some very, very, very evil things, right? Or have been a part of them at least, and it was still in their field. At the very least, it was enough for me to, like, warning flags were going off. All right, my intuition, my guides were speaking and challenging this situation. But of course, at first, I didn't want to cause such an upheaval with everybody else, right? And it was only when they started to put their intentions into the space that it got so loud, I had to close it down. I had to cut everything because I could see everything that was going on in the field. There were these like entity things and in their intentions that they were putting in, and it was like going in like a portal, and like it was, I could just see it getting darker and darker, and I was like, no, we're just closing this all off. And they need to leave. And anyway, they left. And then people started to say to me afterwards, said, oh, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt. They're not a part of this thing anymore. And I was like, I didn't even know they were a part of that. I didn't know about them. I didn't know their lineage. I didn't know anything about them. You brought them in, you turned them up. This is what I was seeing. This is what I was feeling. This is what I was hearing through myself, like without any prior knowledge of this person. Did I work on being more compassionate and pouring a lot of love into that being that they can transform and seeing the possibility of that? Yes, I did the work. I did a teacher's meditation with them while I was there in Costa Rica. Yes, I don't want to make people feel that we need to reject other beings or people or things like that. But at the time, it was so necessary for me to act on that experience, because what was happening was manipulative forces that were beyond what anyone else was really seeing and understanding. But because I am a seer and I do have the like a very, very switched on visual perception, that sometimes, you know, it's hard to see, it's hard to witness some of those things. But at the end of the day, it's there for a reason, and it was a gift, and I almost took it for granted. Yes, I kind of voiced to certain people, but I wasn't strict enough at the time. And it got to sitting in that sacred space where we've got a mandala grid in our altar space, and all these things were starting to come in, and I had to do a massive clearing after that. And this black onyx crystal that I was using to clear the space actually smashed afterwards, and I had to bury it. Yeah, this is how serious that situation was. And you know, people maybe on the everyday world might think that that's a little bit woo-woo or whatever, but for me, as someone who sees things beyond the realms, I can tell you that because of what I see, you know, there are a lot of things that are going on like that actually in everyday life, but we don't acknowledge it and see it because we've been taught to not see it. We've been taught to look the other way. We've been taught to see it a certain way. It's like a mirage, you know? It's like there's a veil over what it truly is, you know? It's like, you know, you could be watching a TV program and thinking that it's just a TV program, but there are actually intentions and things behind that. Same with a lot of music out there, and, you know, certain things that people put on in events and stuff like that. Like even people that could be seen as, you know, doing something of a benevolent nature, there's actually a nefarious nature that is hiding underneath that. So we need to really switch on to the nth degree our intuition. We need to seriously listen to it, even from like, if you could just start from doing like the most smallest thing, like even if you was to just listen to yourself when you feel like, when you don't want to eat something, you know, from what you kind of food that you're eating, from someone suggesting to go somewhere, like listen to those little cues and listen to it, and don't feel afraid to say, you know what, I'm sorry, but I don't want to go there with you. Don't know why, haven't got the full answer, doesn't feel right, just gonna go with it. I don't feel like I want to eat that food today. I know that, you know, my friend prepped it for me, or maybe I've made my sandwich today, but I'm feeling another one. Just trust it and just go with that, right? And it's like those little things, like even, you know, when you're driving, right? You could be driving along and you think, I don't feel like I should be going this way, I need to go a different way. And like you might have to still get your sat nav up to look for redirection or whatever, but just trusting that you feel that you need to look at a different way to driving, right? And it will start to make you more and more perceptive to what is going on within yourself and how that feels, to notice those subtle retractions and contractions from the experiences that you're having, where that's coming from. Is that coming from, of course, maybe trauma that's actually trying to protect you from something that actually would benefit you, or is it a protector that is genuinely like that intuition that knows that there is a better way from you, there's something else that you could listen, and you become more into your flow state that way as well. And you know, then you've got that other energy, that energy that feels like excitement, that feels like that yes, that drive, that impulse, that you just have to go and do it. You know, it was like the other day I was on my meditation call with a beautiful group that I do meditation with, and I just felt such a pull to go and sit outside and to be outside. And at first I thought, oh, does this mean I don't do the call? Maybe I need to just go and be outside for the day. And then it was like, no, just take all your things, just go outside. And I just had that, and I had such a beautiful experience doing that. So it's such a light experience with your intuition, but it's like I just listened to that and I had such a beautiful morning meditating outside, being with my, you know, beautiful cosmic family outside, and using and working in the elements and the trees and the sky and the sun, and everything was just melting into this meditation even more so, and it just felt so aligned. Everything that we did even in that meditation just was like everything that I was, you know, aligning to and feeling with in that moment. And I was like, this is why, you know, this was the best moment for me to do this. I'm so glad I followed that. So follow your intuition, and if you need some support in that, to like move some limiting beliefs out the way, move some stagnant, stuck energy maybe that's in you right now that you feel isn't moving, maybe you feel a bit blindsided by it, then I do offer one-to-one support. You know, these sessions will help you to get to that place, and it will just give you that guidance. You know, it's like you doing the work, but I'm just going to be there as that support. And my first step into that as well is my soul codes journey, which is a free guide if you want to practice that for yourself, see what that feels like to explore with your soul. So if that all resonates, then please come and check this video out as well, so that we can continue this conversation.